Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. Always a joy to remind you that the most important presence you have is the one within you, of which you are a part. May you feel that presence within you today and allow it to come forward as your presence. Also, a happy Father's Day to all dads in our viewing audience this morning. And also, of course, to the source of all life, our Mother, Father, source energy. Also want to invite all of you to our What is Light Body. That'll be from tonight from 7 to 8:30. Happy to have you with us if you're able to do so. Let's begin. My dear friends, it's always a personal joy when one of our Sunday teachings elicits many comments, as did last week's teaching on becoming the total package. As I looked at last week's teaching, there was one thing in a sense for us to understand, that the total package is quite easy in our personal relationship to the God Spirit, but it's quite another to live that total package effectively day in and day out with others. Without spiritual principles and values to guide us, life becomes that proverbial roller coaster. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, and usually the downside ends up being the winner. It's precisely this area of living effectively with others that I want to address in today's teaching. Until we learn the effectiveness of doing so, we will continue to get rattled and unnerved. I will begin with two teachings from one of my favorite group of philosophers, the Stoics, add a little information from Tony Stubbs, hone our personal skills, and then eventually conclude with a larger understanding of life. Today's teaching is appropriately entitled, Living Effectively with Others. Let's begin. As we clearly noted in last week's teaching, it's one thing to have your personal relationship with God, such as Roy Eugene Davis encouraged us to do. But it's quite another, as he said, to be able to develop the skills to live more effectively with others. So let me now begin with a favorite group of philosophers called the Stoics, who flourished 2,400 years ago. The word Stoic, as we use the term, means one who is usually very calm and usually quite strong. One who is able to do whatever the situation calls for with a sense of confidence and certainty. And indeed, we aspire to do the same, especially when it comes to dealing effectively with others. We want to be confident and certain in how we respond. There are two teachings from the Stoics that continue to be a basis of inspiration for me, and I'd like to share them with you. The first one is one that is very near and dear, I think, to all of us, although perhaps maybe we don't even understand that it is so. And that is that every human being is what the Stoics call a primary existent, a primary existent. This made such sense to me. It really helped me to understand that, I am a primary existent. It helped me to be more effective in knowing myself and appreciating my dignity and worth. And of course, if I am a primary existent, then so is everyone else. So is everyone else, which then helped me to be much more respectful of others, even when their behavior was very, very challenging, reminding me not to take things personally, Vince, and not to allow someone else's drama to become my drama. Yes, of course, this is easier said than done until you realize that it's simply the most effective way to live in life. Truly understanding, truly learning to understand that to be in control of yourself is such an important thing. This is what the Stoics excelled at. They were in self-control. They clearly realized that if someone else was out of control, that their drama should not be an excuse for you to be out of control. Let me just say that again, that if someone else is out of control, not to use that as an excuse for you to be out of control. Yes, of course, you have to deal with behavior, but with a sense of self-control, becoming a little more stoic, becoming a little more self-controlled. But it is the second teaching of the Stoics that impressed me even more, although at times it certainly challenged my self-control. The second teaching is that if something is happening to you, it is always happening for your greater good. Just want to say that again. The Stoics taught that if something is happening to you, it's always happening for your greater good. That doesn't mean you like what is happening. It doesn't mean that that's what you want to happen, but it does mean that if it is happening to you, it is for your greater good. And the Stoic person, and I would say in today's language, the smarter person, does not end up fighting what is happening. The smarter person does not end up resisting what is occurring. And surely the smarter person does not fill themselves up with resentment and anger that takes control of them. Again, this does not mean that you're a doormat. And yes, you often have to respond strongly to a situation. But as the Stoics would say, with a sense of self-control. Now this becomes the point. Beneath the drama that is occurring, beneath what you wish perhaps was not happening, but is happening, there is always a good. There is always a good that is occurring. And not only a good that is occurring, and please now listen carefully, a good that we must come to understand, a good that we are now ready to accept, to come to grips with. A good, in my opinion, that your soul is now guiding you to deal with. The situation has become your teacher. The situation that perhaps you don't like has become your teacher. The situation in which you are now engaged has become instructive for you as long as you are willing to ask yourself the following question. What is it that I need to learn from this situation? Listen closely. Asking yourself the question, what is it that I need to learn from this situation is a lifelong learning tool. Asking yourself, what is it that I need to learn from this situation is a lifelong learning tool. I had to ask myself this morning, what do I need to learn from this situation? It's a lifelong learning tool. It was the Stoic philosophers who helped me to realize and to understand this, and especially to utilize the tool. What do I need to learn from this situation? Let me now add an additional comment and then conclude with a wonderful teaching that we use in Now Creations. First, the additional comment. While the idea that if something is happening, is always happening for your greater good, often rescues us. It rescues us from tough situations. It also can quite helpfully raise us, being used positively, as many of us in Now Creations have come to understand. We clearly recognize that all of our positive spiritual practices are the foundation for our future growth. The good of today is preparing us for the better of tomorrow. We are expanding. It's happening for our greater good to even get better. We clearly realize, and we are clearly understanding, that in order for us to grow, we need to keep on taking the time to realize that this present state of growth is the launching pad for the next one. A last comment from a teaching that I use personally for myself, and especially I encourage all of us to understand as the wisdom of Now Creations. It is this. It is what it is, that it becomes what you make of it. And it's always for your growth. It is what it is, but it becomes what you make of it. And it's always for your growth. Will we not say that at the end of our service this morning, when we will say, only good can come to me, and only good can come from me? Don't fight it. Learn from it. Grow from it. These initial comments from the Stoic philosophers are a wonderful preparation for us to consider some works by Tony Stubbs, the most famous of which is Death Without Fear. Tony Stubbs. In his insightful book, as many of you know, he makes a very clear distinction that helps us to deal effectively with people who are caught in low energy. The essence of his teaching is that people in life are at different levels of consciousness. People just are at different levels of consciousness. I'm going to repeat it again because we often forget it. People are at different levels of consciousness, not always the way you would like them to be. And oftentimes, in a sense, when we react to people in lower levels, we imperil not only ourselves, but them as well. Hardly the Stoic view of life to deal effectively with others. The distinction he levels or presents to us as levels of consciousness are what he calls baby souls, young souls, mature souls, and old souls. In a nutshell, these are a summary of the distinctions, and they clearly present a parallel with the Hindu paths of desire and renunciation. First of all, baby souls. Baby souls are newcomers to the human condition, and oftentimes, in a sense, clueless and easily led by others. They're usually quite loud and boisterous. I bet you know a few people like that. They are thoughtless of others and quite self-centered. Young souls have been around for a while, but they are primarily concerned with wealth, fame, and especially power. They like to take advantage of others, and they use people whenever they can for their own good. I suspect you know a few of these. Mature souls have been around longer and no longer, in a sense, are dazzled by the things of the world or the people of the world, but yet have not quite reached the status of an old soul, and they still often get stuck in the drama of others. But lastly, the older soul. The older soul has been in the human condition for quite some time and has pretty much learned most of the lessons of life. They see clearly what is. Thus, in a sense, they see all souls as primary existence. They see all souls as primary existence, but they recognize the behavior of baby and young souls without being pulled into their dramas. They do realize, even they have things to learn, so that when something occurs that they do now clearly recognize, they have to say, yes, what is it teaching me? What am I perhaps making too much of? What is the lesson I need to learn? And they understand that that lesson of that day, perhaps today, the old soul understands it too is for my growth. Their drama is minimal and their growth maximal. They're old souls. Two more things for mature and old souls to consider. Listen carefully. The first is to clearly recognize that each soul, at whatever level, is truly ushering in their own experience. They are undergoing their own soul experience. This takes the additional awareness that each personal experience that another person is having is at the initial prompting of the larger soul that is behind that personal experience. The mature and older souls recognize this, just as they themselves have been at that earlier experience and now are in their personal experience. Having this wisdom is of such value so as not to enter the drama of another. It is all soul experience, and at the soul level, everything is quite well. Secondly, although each soul is having its own personality experience, by the very fact that the soul, each individual soul, is interacting through the personalities with other souls, mature and older souls realize that they continue to learn from each other, even from baby and young souls. But here's the real point, and that when encountering such a baby or young soul, when encountering such a soul, the mature and older soul realizes that they are planting the seeds for the growth of that young and baby soul. This understanding of planting seeds for souls brings us to our third consideration. One of the skills that is highly prized among people in society is what we often call people skills. People skills. There's a long list of people skills, especially in organizations and in businesses. You have and know many of them, such as keeping your composure when everyone else seems to be a little iffy. Rather than complaining about what you don't like at the moment, you proceed to get what needs to be done. You are very, very approachable rather than playing favorites or having favorites. And you realize that you have a job to do and you do it, but it's not the whole of your life. Well, the list can go on and on and on. And while these people skills are the foundation of many things in life, the effective soul also develops soul skills. Soul skills presume people skills that add the following: a skillful soul. A skillful soul often understands that people have bad days or sometimes bad weeks, but do not judge or criticize other souls. They realize that people sometimes get stuck in life, just as they used to in their younger soul days. A skillful soul does not harbor resentment or take things personally. They are not easily hurt. They are a little more stoic. It doesn't mean that they don't have feelings, but they don't wear those feelings on their sleeves. A skillful soul also operates from the higher values of oneness, love, and respect. They realize that everyone is a primary existent, and they clearly understand the respect and love for all people. I think you get the point. When people skills are combined with soul skills, you have a very enlightened soul. This is the goal of Now Creations, to assist each one of us to be an enlightened soul with people skills and soul skills. This is the way that we become a light to others. This is how we usher in the kingdom of God, which now leads us to the fourth point of living effectively with others. The mature and older souls, such as us, live by universal principles and values, and not by momentary changing events. This is probably the biggest difference in living effectively with others. Less mature people allow the external events of their lives to determine their sense of well-being at the moment. Thus, they continue to react to things outside of them. The real problem is that less mature souls have not taken the time to develop spiritual principles and values by which to live. I want to repeat that again. It's so important for us to understand. Less mature souls have not taken the time to develop spiritual principles and values by which to live. They will eventually, but maybe not in this lifetime. Actually, this is what makes them immature. Their lives are not guided by universal principles, but rather by simply reactions to what is occurring at the moment. You are different. You are different. You have taken the time to study, to work on, and to live universal principles and values. You now have a solid set of these principles and values that you bring to each situation in life because you have taken the time to examine your life. And you do realize that events, they come and go. That you have established a solid foundation of such spiritual principles and values. And now you apply them to a particular situation and are so edified by their power and strength because they work every time. And they are the truest way of living effectively with others. You're smart. You're smart. You know better. And because you know better, you act better. And that is what a mature, older soul does. In conclusion, we realize that we live in a world with many baby and young souls. The Stoic principles and values serve us well as we continue to advance in our people skills and especially in our soul skills. And truly, what a joy it is to grow with other mature, older souls. We need and cherish each other. And we clearly realize the good that we are for all others. The good that we are for all others. Living more and more effectively and bringing heaven to earth. For the good in me sees the good in you as a primary existent. As a primary existent. Let me now take you into meditation, and what a joy it is to do so. Let's just begin with that nice breath, nice easy breathing. And just notice that calmness within yourself. That calmness within yourself. You are a primary existent, a child of the source. And right at this moment, you thoroughly realize that I am a child of the source. Would you just feel this permeating your being? I am a primary existent. You have to start here. If you don't, you'll get caught in drawing. I'm a child of the source. And you know the rest of it. I have not left my source. Would you please notice the truth of this statement? You and the source are irrevocably one. It has to start here. Yes, of course, we live with others, and our goal is to be effective in the way we live with others. No guarantees where others are. There are many baby and young souls in our lives. I'll say it again. There are many baby and young souls in our lives. They are often thoughtless and careless. And yet they too are primary existence. And yes, they often have something to teach you. What is it? What is it that I must learn from this situation? You can boo-hoo yourself, saying that life isn't fair, and get you nowhere. Or you can say, what is it that I need to learn from this situation? It's a lifelong learning tool. You may say to yourself, well, I'm tired of having to learn all these things. Well, you'll have to get a little smarter, have to become a little more stoic. Do you not clearly see that problems just keep repeating themselves? They just keep repeating themselves until you resolve them with higher spiritual values and principles. Don't expect baby and young souls to be of much help. We continue to plant seeds. And that's why we need and cherish each other in now creations and with other wonderful souls who assist us in our growth and development. We need each other as strong supports in the midst of the work we have chosen to plant seeds in the lives of others. Okay, so let's buck up. Let's not let the turkeys win. We've got work to do today. We've got work to do as happy, mature, older souls, happy to be here on the planet, happy to usher in the kingdom. Don't let someone else rain on your parade. Strut your stuff, do your thing, be the happy, contented soul that you're meant to be. And with that, let me invite you to gently breathe your eyes open. Nice smile on your face. You know, it's pretty fun to be a stoic. I am an eternal being of light and love. Thus, only good can come to me, and only good can come from me. We are eternal beings of light and love. Thus, only good can come to us, and only good can come from us. Namaste.